What's going on, Thunder fans? We are back for another week, another episode, another segment, whatever you want to call this, of Thunder Things with the Thunder Guys. I'm Zach.
I'm Craig.
And we are the Thunder Guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this cold Sunday afternoon. If you're watching on Facebook Live, thanks for joining us. If you're listening on Crossover Radio, then it's probably Monday, because that's what time we are normally on the air. But I foresee some schedule changes ahead, Craig, and that's on me, my man.
It's whatevs.
It's
whatevs.
Don't be mad. We're going to work it out. But for now, you're probably going to be hearing from us quite a bit on Sunday afternoons. It's going to be good. We got some things to talk about, my man.
Just a few.
A few
things.
We had some good things. We had some bad things over the past week. And if I remember correctly, you predicted the week correctly.
I did. Right? I did. I don't think I had it the way it ended up, but I definitely had 2-2. So.
And I said 3-1, and I kind of thought that's where we were going to be, but alas.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and.
I felt good going into last night's game beforehand.
Yeah.
So you weren't far off on your 3-1, but.
What's really angering for me is the loss to Sacramento, which let's just go ahead and do a quick weekly recap. The loss last Monday to Sacramento was, in my mind, inexcusable. Shouldn't have happened. Losing last night.
Got our number this year, man.
Huh?
They got our number so far this year.
The Kings?
Yeah.
Man.
Jeez.
It's redonkulous. And I was pretty frustrated with the loss, especially because I had to write about it. But
yeah.
But here we are. We watched this game together, actually.
Yeah, it's a bad loss for sure. Paul George didn't shoot well, and he's been playing great lately. So of course that's gonna, anytime a player has been playing phenomenal. Oh my goodness.
Phenomenal.
You know what I'm saying. Anytime a player has been playing extremely well, there we go, and then he has a down game, it's obviously going to hurt the team. And Russ wasn't back for this game, correct?
No,
did he
was
play
not.
that night? Okay.
Yes, he was. Sorry.
Yeah, because that was the night.
This was
it
his
was like
first
right
game
before.
back.
Yeah, right
Yes.
before tip off, it was like announced that he was playing. So I guess as a team, they didn't shoot very well, and hard to win games. Like I've said in the past, when you don't shoot well.
Yeah.
Despite how great the defense may be.
The defense wasn't great. That was the thing. And I feel like we're saying a lot of the same things here. When the defense plays well, it makes the offense come easier. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like a big part of why the Thunder shot so poorly was because the defense did not do so well. Obviously got off to a terrible start. In the first quarter, trailed by 13 at the end of the period, which is not great. Started off not hitting much at all, shooting 37% while allowing the Kings to shoot 54% in the first quarter alone. And then things kind of leveled out. Thunder had a huge third quarter push. Actually took a 1-point lead into the final quarter of the game, but just couldn't hold on to it.
I guess Russ actually didn't play terribly.
I mean,
Would you take 40% from the three always from Russ?
Let me explain. Stats don't tell the whole story.
Well, of course.
When we look at 4 for 10, we're like, hey, Russ shot pretty well. But the fact of the matter is, 10 is way too many for him, and I don't care if he's making 4. Here's why I say that, though. Because those 2 makes came in like the final couple minutes of the game when the Thunder was down by like 10 or something like that. And they were like desperation heaves. And they went in.
He makes a lot of those. Maybe he should only shoot those.
Well, then we go back to last night.
Right.
And we'll get to last night because plenty of people have plenty of things to say about Russell Westbrook's performance last night.
Whatevs.
But regardless, it was one of those things where, let me break it down by quarter here. In the fourth, he shot 3 of 5 from 3. So that means coming in, he was 1 of 5. Didn't shoot well leading up to that point. Paul George was 2 of 3 from 3 in the fourth. So it was one of those things where everybody kind of shot well. One thing that I do think is interesting is Jerami Grant got injured. I say he got injured. He rolled his ankle there in the middle of the fourth, and at that point, the Kings were outscoring the Thunder by 14 points in the fourth quarter alone. He goes out, and then that kind of sparked the comeback. And here's the biggest matchup issue for the Thunder in that game was Jerami Grant trying to play defense against the longer, more not more athletic, but same athleticism, but taller, longer guys that Sacramento has, made things very difficult for them. So him going out actually helped the Thunder in a way, which you never want a guy to get hurt, but that was kind of the fact of the matter with that situation. But I digress.
Yeah.
Moving on to
Golden
the big
State.
win, the one that obviously the highlight of the week, if you will. Beating Golden State in Oakland, only the second time in the last 10 tries in Oracle Arena. I'll take that any which way, but the fact that the Thunder did it by a kabillion points, what was the spread, 28? I'm trying to pull up the game real quick. Yeah, 28 points. 28-point victory. Came out not shooting particularly well, but neither was Golden State. The defense.
It was really ugly
This is
early
where
on.
the defense really stepped up. You hold the top offense in the NBA over the last few years to 95 points, you're doing something right. Now, they were missing Steph. They were missing Draymond, blah, 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 blah. They still have Kevin Durant. He shot 11 for 22, so he did all right. Clay put up shots. He went 10 for 22. But the thing was, they were never really able to get the three ball going. And for 2 seasons now, I've been saying the same thing. You hold the Warriors to under 33% from three, and you're going to have a really, really, really good chance at beating them. Now, you can say that about a lot of teams. Can't say that about the Thunder, because there's no telling what they're going to shoot, and they still might get a win because they're not good at shooting three anyway. But whenever you're the Warriors and you rely so much on the three ball, when it's not falling, then they don't have a lot to fall back on. Now, they do a lot of other good things on offense as far as screens and ball movement. They move the ball better than any other team in the NBA, in my opinion. And it's those types of things that we would like to see the Thunder do, but they don't do. So there's not much we can do with that. But point being is the defense stepped up. They did exactly what it took. Forced the Warriors into 17 turnovers while only turning over the ball 10 times themselves. Somebody asked me before the game how many assists I thought the Thunder needed to get a win. I said, give me 25 and we're going to win this game. They finished with 29. They won the game. Thunder averages about 21-22 on the season, so I knew it was going to take a couple extra there. They did what it took. Russell Westbrook played really well. I believe this was his first triple-double of the season. Didn't shoot all that great, but he only took 15 shots. For him, that's not
a lot.
That's really not a lot. He finished with 13 assists and only 4 turnovers. I'll take that assist-to-turnover ratio any day. He managed to get other guys involved. And the thing is, a lot of what I'm seeing out of him is he's not a lot of what he's doing, he's not doing with the ball in his hands. He's deferring to Dennis Schroeder when he's in. He's trying to let Paul George bring the ball up some more. And it's one of those things where he's learning to move without the ball. He's even setting some screens. He's doing some cool stuff like that. So
cool stuff, man.
Some cool stuff. Well, listen, when Russell Westbrook does things without the ball in his hands, then that's a good sign for the Thunder, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. For me, the biggest key in this game was Dennis Schroeder, 12 of 19, 5 of 6 from 3. Would not have won this game without him. Came up with 32 points. He has been amazing this season off the bench. Also stepping into the starting lineup for Russ. A game changer. He's got to be, I know it's early, but he's got to be up at the top of the talks for Sixth Man of the Year this season. But like you said, a lot of that is based off of Russell Westbrook. I feel like they play together so well, and we kind of knew that going into the season that their play styles would kind of mesh together. And so far, I mean, of course there's been some bad games, but that's going to happen in an 82-game season. So
what's interesting as far as those two playing together is coming into the Golden State Warriors matchup, they had been in a few different lineups together, and they were all negative.
Really?
In terms of...
it doesn't seem that way just because of the energy, I guess, on the court.
But they were all negative. But then in, I think it was like 12 minutes on the court together against Golden State, completely flipped that, almost turned it upside down and completely reversed it because they were so good together. So it's one of those things. You're right. Talking about small sample sizes, I feel like the longer they play together, the more they play together, the better they're going to be able to be ultimately, and be more dangerous. The lineup that we've been wanting to see all season long happened, and it looked good. It was the Russ, Schroeder, Paul George, Jerami Grant, Steven Adams. Crazy athletic lineup. Mm-hmm. I'll take that against the Warriors' death lineup. There's
not a lot of teams that can match that.
It's really going to be hard.
Yeah, athleticism.
So looked good there. Friday night, picked up a win against the Hornets after they the Thunder trailed, right? That one? I'm having a hard time remembering that one because I got the loss so heavy on my mind.
Well, quarter by quarter they never trailed. I'm not going in.
Right. I believe it was the
fourth quarter maybe the Hornets made a comeback.
Well, I was thinking the third quarter was where they didn't play particularly well to start. But I'm trying to pull up the game chart so I can take a look here. I could be wrong.
I didn't catch a lot of this.
Sorry. It was the second quarter where the Hornets swung it in their direction. They went up by, I think it was 8. Then the Thunder got up by 13 at the end of the third. And then the Hornets whittled it all the way down, almost gave the game away. A lot of people had things to say about that. How are the Thunder about to give this game away? Blah, 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 blah. Russ played outstanding, had one of his better games of the season, which was fantastic.
9 of 11 from the free throw. I was looking at these games early in the week, and he was only taking 2 or 3 free throws a game. That's not enough for him.
It's not at all. He was able to get the free throw line at a high rate, and he's making them, which is so important. For sure. And he shot 10 of 18 from the field. Only 1 for 4 from 3. That's fine. I don't really like him taking upwards of 5+ 3-point attempts a game. Paul George did not shoot well again. 8 for 21 from the field, 3 for 10. Finished with 19 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. What I have noticed, though, is as Westbrook is getting more comfortable with letting Paul George bring the ball up, that kind of thing, Paul George's assist numbers are going up. Mm-hmm. He's actually got, we talked about this last week, career highs so far in basically every major statistical category, which is great. That leads us to last night's game against the Nuggets. It was not pretty for most of the game in a lot of ways. Denver got up early, up by 20 a bunch in the first half. I can't remember how many exactly. They're up by 20 at the half, I believe it was, 21. And then the Thunder kind of did what they've done all season, made a third quarter push to get right back in the game, cut it to 13 or so. And then in the fourth quarter, got to within 5 at one point with about a minute and a half left, but they couldn't ever close the gap. And they lost the game. Now, a lot of people wanted to pin the loss solely on Russell Westbrook. And if you look at the stat sheet, he did not shoot well at all. He finished, what was it?
6 of 23.
6 of 23 from the field and 1 for 12 from three-point land. That's awful. 1 for 12. That's about 10 too many three-point attempts for what I would like to see for Russell Westbrook. And I know you might feel a little bit differently about that, but I just don't like him shooting a lot of threes. I don't see the point. Thoughts?
Shoot or shoot. That's my thought. And
let me ask you this.
There's no one who can match the level of confidence that Russell Westbrook has. And I'm saying if he's feeling it, he's feeling it. Let the guy shoot.
Well,
No one complains whenever he does have those streaks where he hits 4 out of 5, you know what I mean, goes off for some crazy numbers.
He has more bad three-point shooting games than he has good three-point shooting games, though.
Yeah, but I feel like that's probably true for a lot of guys. I mean, you've got your elite shooters, of course, but he's not one. I never said he was an elite shooter.
But you said, okay, let me ask you this. You said shoot or shoot.
Russ is a shooter.
Is Russ a shooter because he shoots the ball a lot?
Of course.
Okay, but in my mind, a shooter
I don't like to pick one game and complain about that because
that's fair.
And that's all I'm saying. No one's going to complain if he turns around and takes another 12 in the next game, but he makes half of them. No one's going to say a word about it.
I might. Listen, making them is great. I might complain only because I think that's a bad precedent to get into.
I guess what I'm saying, it's Russell Westbrook. You know what you're getting out of the guy. He's been doing this for, 10 years now? It's like...
This is his 11th season.
Okay. So why are we worried about it?
Listen, I'm not worried about it. I'm just addressing it because there are so many people who
I know, and I'm not necessarily talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else on Twitter who's losing their minds.
Back to what I was saying, though. you said Russ is a shooter because he shoots. To me, a shooter is a shooter because they make. And traditionally, he's not a great shooter. Now, whose hands do I want the ball in at the end of a game? Russell Westbrook. Every single time, without a doubt. Because to me, he's not a shooter. He's a playmaker. Does that mean making shots? Without a doubt. But sometimes it's just finding the guy that's open, or whatever that may look like.
I will say I can do without the ones where he tries to bait into a call. I mean, he's not James Harden. It's not working. He had a
couple of those.
He did, but he also had some that were bad, that were no calls, and I agreed with the no call. Yeah. And then you're just going to sit there and complain to the ref instead of getting back on defense. Yeah. To me, I can do without those ones. But if he's getting a good look, shoot it.
And that's kind of how I felt like it was for the Thunder all night long. They had a lot of good looks, and they finished 9 for 39, which is one of the higher attempt totals for the season. And I wanted to let's go ahead and skip over to one of our points we want to talk about here. Let's go right into talking about three-point problems. Last night, the Thunder shot 39 times. When shooting 28 or more threes, the Thunder is 6-7. But they're undefeated at 6-0 when they shoot 27 or fewer. And can you ever lean on one statistic for a guaranteed win or loss? Of course not. No. The only statistic you can lean on is having more points than the other team. That will give you a win every single time.
Big facts.
Big facts, okay? But my thing is, this team is not a three-point shooting team. I don't think they're going to be in the near future without a trade of some sort. Could happen. And this, to me, this stat tells a lot. Shooting 28 plus times, you're losing more games than you're winning. Shooting 27 or fewer, you're winning every single time. Now, I think there's more to it than that, right?
Well, yeah,
you shoot more threes when you're down by a lot. So you're probably going to lose those games regardless. And that's fair, and I get that. But my thing is, this team has proven what gets the Thunder back into games when they're down by 20 plus points. Is it knocking down threes?
No.
What do you have to do on the other end?
Play defense.
You have to get stops. And my thing is, if they continue with the stops and then they try to get better looks, then maybe they win the game last night. Now, I went back and I looked at the play-by-play. Russell Westbrook shot in those final few minutes. He only took, I think it was 2 threes. So you can't blame all of those. You know what I mean? You can't blame all of that on him. In the fourth quarter alone, let me pull that stat up. He was 0 for 5 from 3 in the whole quarter. That's not good. Not what you want at all. Now, the rest of the team in the fourth shot 4 of 7. Paul George was 2 of 3. Jerami Grant was 1 of 2. Schroeder was 1 of 2. So they finally started turning it on. But as a team, nobody else really shot well either. So pinning the bad three-point shooting on him, here's the thing. Paul George goes 2 for 10, 3 for 10 often enough. It happens. And people really don't bat an eye about it. And that's because he has a lot of those good games. Russell Westbrook doesn't have as many good games, so when he has a bad one, people are going to highlight that. And there's a part of me that gets it, but then there's a part of me that also realizes...
He's also held to a higher standard.
He is. And he should be. But at the same time, it's like we're ignoring the rest of his numbers. He had 12 assists. The team had... I'm trying to do some quick math here. Around 21.
So only 9 assists without Russell Westbrook?
Russell Westbrook's carrying... They had 22. They had 10 assists without him, okay? And then they were team, which is really solid. And he only had 4 of those, which a lot of people say 4 turnovers is still too much. He's actually averaging a career low number of turnovers right now. Hello. That's solid. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody else had more than 3 assists. He had 10 rebounds, which you can call it stat padding all you want, but it's because he's back there getting work done. That's third on the team behind Steven Adams, who was terrible in the first half. He was like 0 for 6, I think, and he finally turned it on in the second half. Paul George, once again, did not shoot well, 8 for 21 from the field. Finally turned it on from 3, went 2 for 3 in the fourth quarter. But overall, it's just these kinds of things. Listen, 3-point percent is an issue. The Thunder are not shooting well. They need to tone it down. That's my thing. But when it comes down to it, last night's game especially, Russ wasn't the only one there. Russ wasn't the only one that made mistakes. Russ wasn't the only one that didn't make shots. Listen, in the final minute and a half of the game, he assisted on multiple baskets. I can't even. It was 2 or 3 of them, and they were good looks. He should have had another one. Steven Adams is is flying down the lane. He hits him. Adams goes up to dunk it, and he gets swatted. Like, the ball tips out of his hands. He's the toughest guy in the NBA. He's got to be tough in those situations. The only way that the other team should be getting the ball in that type of situation is if they are fouling the heck out of him. I wasn't impressed with Adams last night. He was really disappointing. To me, the guy that stood out was Jerami Grant. He got things done on both ends. His box score wasn't like eye-popping or anything like that. But he did some good things. He shot well. I don't know. What? I know you think the Thunder needs to become a better three-point shooting team. I just don't know how that's going to happen without a change of personnel. What do you think? I just had an idea, but you go ahead. I'll chime in when you're done.
You got an idea about how they can become better? Does it involve Russ not flailing his body as he shoots?
Andre Robertson will return in the future.
Oh my god.
Okay, obviously.
So it wasn't a serious idea, right? Okay.
What if? No, but what if he does come back and all of a sudden he's a good three-point shooter?
He's been taking like so many shots every day.
It's not going to happen, but that would be the most ridiculous turnaround in favor of the Thunder. It'd be awesome.
We like to argue, and I like to not admit that I'm wrong. So I do want to keep the argument that we do need to become better at shooting threes as a team, but it's getting to the point, like you said, I don't know how that's going to happen.
Right.
And so that brings us to where, defense has to be a focus. And it goes beyond the three-point. If you look at our free throws, which I know we're going to get into, our overall shooting, we're just not good at making shots. And so at that point, you have to focus on defense. If this team wants to win games, be a championship team, defense has to be the key.
Let's talk about that correlation. Okay, I mentioned this last week, and I think you're onto something here saying it again. After having a shooting solid week last week, 87.5%, 56 to 64 overall in 3 games. The Thunder came back down to earth this week, shot 50 of 78, more free throws, fewer makes, 1 more game, shooting 64%. They're finally over 70 on the season. That's good, but still 29th in the entire league.
Who's 30th? That's not important. Don't worry about it.
I'll look it up while we're talking. But here's my point: is good shooters are good free throw shooters. Agreed?
Yeah.
If we go and look, if we go and look at the teams in the NBA that are good at shooting threes and that are good at shooting free throws, there's a lot of correlation there. It's not necessarily directly. I'll point this out right now. 2 of the top 3-point shooting teams are also 2 of the top 5 3-point shooting teams are also 2 of the top free throw shooting teams. So I think there's correlation there. It's one of those things where if you can, in your mind, see yourself make a free throw, you're standing still, nobody's guarding you, it's a distant shot, it's not right at the rim. Seeing yourself make that instills some confidence that I can knock down a shot that's a few steps further back. It sounds silly, but I swear there's some psychology to it there. The Kings are the one team that are a worse free throw shooting team, which is wild because they are one of the best 3-point shooting teams, and that basically throws my entire argument out the window. Well, they're tied with Golden State in 3-point percentage, so it is kind of funny that that's the case. They're so bad at free throws.
We'll see if that lasts though.
But I don't know. But what bothers me is that the Thunder is so bad at free throw percentage, despite ranking in the top 10 in attempts. They're so bad at 3-point percentage, despite being 14th in the league in attempts. Something's got to give. Now, we don't want them to stop shooting free throws. Those are free ones. You take all the free you can get, even if it's ugly.
We're not making them, so let's not take them.
Right. We're going to decline that penalty right now.
We'll just take the ball.
Or we'll turn the ball over, or however you want to do that. You take every free throw chance you can get.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could decline?
Nah, fam. We'll take it out up top, like in some
check up or something.
Check up street ball situation.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I'd be down for that. How many teams would defer the free throws?
The Thunder, probably.
You think? Technical foul. We don't even want the free throw. We'll just take the one possession we were going to get anyway, and we'll just start from there. Not really. You take every free throw you can get, and hopefully they're going to start turning things around. I'm not really sure when that's going to happen, but I feel like it's got to happen.
It's crazy to look at all this statistics with free throws, 3-point shooting, And to think that the Thunder are 12-7, one game out of first place.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
No,
like, if you were just looking at this,
I'm with you.
I would not guess that their record was 12-7.
No, not at all. It's statistically, well, offensively, shooting percentages, because field goal percentage isn't great either.
Right.
We're 22nd.
Yeah.
You look at shooting percentages, and it makes sense why the Thunder has lost some games, but doesn't make sense on why they're winning games. But
well,
we can talk about the defense here in a little bit.
I would say it all leads back to defense, whether I want to admit it or not.
All right, Thunder fans, we're back talking more Thunder things. I'm Zach.
I'm Craig.
And we're only a little sad after last night's loss. But that's
just
okay.
a little bit.
I feel like we've got
to keep things into perspective.
It's a long season.
I didn't get more coffee on that break.
Well, why don't you scoot on over and pour yourself some?
Hold it down. You want some?
I'll hold it down.
You want a little top up?
There's not a whole lot left. That's all you.
You're so courteous.
I try. So welcome to the Zach show, I guess. Craig has left me. Not really. He's just pouring some coffee. Dunkin' Donuts.
All right. And we're back.
And we're back. Okay. I guess that's
okay. Defense, huh? Is that what we're heading to?
Yeah. So let's talk about the defense. The Thunder is first in the NBA right now in defensive rating, which is where they take some numbers and they rate the defense. I believe the way that it works is it's points per 100 possessions or something like that. I don't really know. I like the stats, but sometimes I don't understand all of them. But the Thunder's basically the way that it's worded is the Thunder has the best defense in the league right now, slightly ahead of the Boston Celtics, who also are not doing very well. I might throw in.
I'm just looking at our overall rating here. Like our defense is so good.
Well, go ahead. Let everybody know what you're looking at.
Okay, so our defense is first. Oh, we've already said that, but our offense is 17th,
which dropped from 13th last week.
Right. So, despite having the 17th best or worst, however you want to look at it, offense.
17th best, that's like 14th worst.
Our defense is still so good that it makes us 4th overall in net rating. 4th
in net rating.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. That shows.
That explains why we have this 12-7 record.
Well, that's what I was going to say. But while the shooting percentages are not good, we look at this and it totally makes sense that we're winning games when really we shouldn't be. Maybe, perhaps, I don't really know. Whatever way you want to look at it.
Here's the deal: playing like this, the Thunder will never get the oohs and the ahs of ESPN and all that stuff because offense is pretty. Golden State is a pretty team. They make shots, they pass the ball around, and it works. Mm-hmm. But defense, like you said, wins championships. Defense is what's going to win games for this team, and that's going to go unrecognized. But when if the Thunder can keep this up, their record at the end of the season will show. And while it may not be pretty,
right,
it's going to be some wins, and we'll take that.
Right now, I feel like we're on a good pace.
I do too. I feel good.
I can't really remember. We were wanting. What were our preseason predictions for wins? Was it mid-50s?
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, we're not quite a quarter of the way into the season. So if I do some quick math.
He is an English teacher, so math is not.
We would finish around 50 and 32 at this rate. That's a close estimate.
How many?
And actually, no, it's even better than that.
How many home games did you say?
Yeah, it's actually better. It's more like 52 and 30 would probably be more accurate. Yeah.
Which is not far off from where we wanted to be.
Which is not far off
from
what expectations. That's slightly above expectations.
How many home games did you say the Thunder were going to lose?
I want to say 6.
They've already lost 3.
Yeah.
So...
that's not looking so
good.
I think it was... 6 might be on the low end. I can't remember what. I'll see if I can pull that up while we're chatting here. But one thing that is a bit concerning is the schedule. The Thunder has had a pretty favorable schedule so far.
And it keeps going this week.
What do you think? Does that worry you at all moving forward?
Not really, because the Thunder have played well against Golden State, played with them for one game, beat them the second time around. They've beat Houston. Well, I don't think Houston was 100% that game. They've won some of the difficult games, and we've seen them beat teams that they should be beating, unlike last season where it was like, oh, they play really good, and then it's just, a team they should beat, and they come out flat. So, not really. I know those games have been spread out, like a couple easy ones and then a tough game. I know that's going to be more like tough, and then an easy game in there. So that might be a little worrisome, but overall, I'm not too worried about it.
I feel like a common theme with this Thunder squad over the past few years has been they play down to competition. But I also feel like because of that, right now they're playing up to competition. I mean, you look at some of the good teams they played this season. The Rockets, who have really not been all that great, handled them just fine, smacked the Warriors, played close in the first matchup against the Warriors without Russell Westbrook. So I'm just thinking, I mean, right now, I feel like there's a solid team.
Right. And
we're still missing guys.
I was thinking about this. It's funny, I was thinking about it last night during the loss. Last year, there was everyone was saying that team last season was built for the playoffs. I like that we have a team this season that's just built to be in the NBA. Does that make sense? Like,
no, you're right.
We're winning games and looking good while doing it at times. And that's nice instead of just being like, okay, if we can just make it in with the 6th seed, whatever, it doesn't matter. This team can win in the playoffs. Like, no, this team...
Because of the veteran leadership,
right,
blah, blah,
no,
blah,
this is a team that has the ability to win games and to be a high seed. And to me, that's a world of difference.
Listen, is the Thunder going to upset the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals? It's not likely, but I still feel like it's a possibility. And the thing with me, with this Thunder team, give me a chance.
Right.
You remember the finals run back in 2012? The Thunder had no business making it to the finals. Down 2-0 to the San Antonio Spurs. I don't know if we were watching games together back then because it's been many moons.
Whoa. Was that the year I predicted or one of us predicted 4 in a row?
That was the year
I
predicted,
okay.
And I saved it. I said, I'm not even worried because the Thunder's about to run this back 4 quick games, beat the Spurs to move on.
I remember that.
And they did. And
then LeBron happened.
Yeah, okay, and we won't get into the actual finals matchup because it was ugly. But my point is, this team, just give them a chance, and I'm happy. Last night, they had a chance. That, to me, that meant more on Wednesday night. You talked about, what was the word you used? Composure. That this team has displayed compared to past teams. Things start to crumble, but they just pick right back up and go with it. A big lead starts to dwindle away, and you think, oh, great, they're going to collapse like they did last year. But then they just boost it right back up. And that kind of happened on Friday night. They almost gave away the game, and they came right back, ended up closing out just fine. The game was way out of hand last night, and they got started a little too late, but they still had a chance.
Right.
And had they won, it would have been the biggest comeback in Thunder franchise history by several points. So I'm still irritated about the loss because I definitely think the Thunder's better than the Denver Nuggets. We're not quite too... We're just not quite there yet. You know what I mean?
But not far off at the same time, if that makes any sense.
I agree. And I think one of the biggest issues, we talk about free throws, we talk about three-point percentage, is the injury bug. Okay? Terrence Ferguson and Hamidou Diallo both go down with sprained ankles in the same game. That's awful. T-Fergs looked bad. Hamidou's looked terrible. They were both lucky to come out with just sprained ankles. Obviously, still missing Andre Robertson. The dude's a starter.
Yeah.
For this team. When he comes back, I'm not sure he's going to be starting. I know he probably won't be right out of the gate. I don't know if he will be by season's end. And I'm not sure if I want him to because we're missing arguably our best defensive player and we have the top defense in the NBA. I'm not saying we need to get rid of him. I'm just saying he's going to have to refine his role with this team. And I can't wait for him to come back. I don't know what this team's going to...
Right. I just want to see this team healthy.
Are they going to start holding teams to 70 points? Or where do you go from here? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's good to me. Hopefully they stop leaving shooters open in the corner.
Yeah,
that would be nice. But whatever it is, I feel like the Thunder are trending in a good direction. For once, for the last few years, they're moving in a good direction, and it's not middle of the season, ducking into the playoffs barely. It's still early. November is not even over yet, and this team looks pretty solid. So, to me, a key role to this, a key part to this, is the emergence of Jerami Grant. He's a guy that I wanted to, I talked about earlier, want to highlight now. I hadn't looked at his season statistics until earlier this morning, and looking at him, what stands out to you?
Well, for me, it's the 3-point percentage.
You think?
And I get he's not shooting as many as everybody else. That contributes. But maybe it also proves what you were saying earlier to be right, as in maybe some guys need to be taken less.
For sure. And my thing, here's my thing with him. He's not shooting a high volume, but he's making when he does. And to me, once again, I don't need a guy like Alex Abrinas to shoot a ton. I just need him to make when he's open. Mm-hmm. I don't need Patrick Patterson to shoot a ton. I just need him to make one single shot ever. He's not playing well right now, and it's incredibly frustrating. When Andre Robertson comes back, I don't need him to shoot more than 1 or 2 a game. But if he's wide open every few games, make it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I will say another...
By the way, he's shooting... He's 6th on the team in attempts per game. He's shooting 3 per game. One person that's shooting more than he is, Patrick Patterson.
Ugh.
Barely. But what's surprising is Patrick Patterson's still shooting 31% from 3.
Doesn't seem like it at all.
No, which is way better than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, no doubt. For sure. What is he in the
and honestly,
9%?
He's shooting 17%. 17.6% from 3, which is awful.
That's close.
Alex Abrinas, he's only shooting 31.9%.
Yeah, don't get me started on him again. We've already been there, done that. I would, real quick, I just want to point out with Jerami Grant, the 11.6 points per game, 5th on the team. Last year we talked about, you looked at the Houston Rockets, Golden State. They had a ton of guys averaging double digits in scoring. You know Paul George is going to get his points. You know Russell Westbrook's going to score. You know Steven Adams. We need another guy like Jerami Grant to step up and get the double-digit points, and that's what's happening. So I'm liking that. It just makes you more of a complete team when you've got more than 2 guys who can score the ball. You know what I mean?
We go back to last year, and we had there were 5 double-digit scorers. One of those was Corey Brewer, though. He barely averaged double digits, and he only played in the final 18 games of the regular season. This year, you got Jerami Grant, who's 11.6. He's in there with the rest of those. But Dennis Schroeder, who's the 3rd highest scorer, he's scoring more than Melo was. Steven Adams, who I predicted to average 15 points per game this season, is averaging 15.5. That's up from his 13.9 a season ago. And then you get down into, the secondaries, the role-playing guys. And that's what I want to get into next. This is our final topic before we get into the weekly forecast, which the Thunder has a pretty easy week this week, by the way. But the question I want to pose here is, can the bench be trusted? And I don't want to make this our point counterpoint. We won't do one this week because I'm in the middle, and I'll explain my sides from it. You said yes when we talked about it before the show, so I want you to go first and kind of share what you're thinking. Can the bench be trusted? And I'll shoot you this link right now. That way you can pull up everybody's stats if you want to use those to help. There you go.
I mean, maybe.
If you want to, I don't know. Let's use them at all. But go ahead.
I'll have them there just in case I need it. How about that?
Yeah, if you want to point anything out, I guess.
It's so nice to not be on a 30-second timer for this.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to make it our traditional point counterpoint with the time and everything, because I want us to be able to. I want to flesh this out a little bit, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I'm gonna obviously go with yes. You've already said that the bench can be trusted. While it may not be consistent, I mean, has Russell Westbrook been consistent? Has Paul George been consistent? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, if you can't expect these elite guys to be consistent on offense, I mean, I guess you should expect them to be, but they're not. Yeah. Then, why would you expect TLC or any of these guys off the bench to be that way? But they have shown, and at times, been the reason why the Thunder have won games.
Yeah.
The other night, Hamidou Diallo was 7 of 7, I believe.
First rookie to ever shoot that many times and not miss a shot.
TLC has been playing great. We saw even last night Deonte Burton had his moments. And to me, the main reason I'm saying yes is because the Thunder have lacked that. They haven't had anybody that can, you've had guys that you know what you're going to get out of them. You know, like last year Raymond Felton, you know what you were going to get. Alex Abrinas, you know what you're going to get. But you have to have guys who can at any given moment contribute to a game. And that's what I feel like you have with TLC and Deonte Burton and Hamidou Diallo. At any moment, you never know when they're going to go off for, 10, 12, 15 points. And to have that on your team, to have that in your arsenal, it's very similar to what other teams have, like Golden State and Houston. You're like, oh, who's this guy that I've never heard of going off for and killing us right now? I feel like that's what these three guys have been for the Thunder this season. I'm guarantee you there's been guys or fans for other teams like, who even are these people out here on the court? And like I said, that's what the Thunder need.
Right.
And I believe, based off what I've seen this season, that this can be a thing that can go on for the whole course of the season. And to me, that's going to be a major key when we get down to the end of the season and postseason.
Major key.
Major key.
I agree. I'm looking at some numbers here, and compared to the rest of the league, the Thunder's bench still isn't great. They rank 22nd in plus-minus differential, minus 1.5. I'm pulling up last year's numbers, though, because I'm pretty much guaranteeing you that it was worse.
And some of the numbers are deceiving. I mean, you're looking at...
Oh, yeah, I agree completely. Well, of course not.
Like TLC's averaging...
They were dead even last year, which doesn't make any sense. But anyways, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, if you look at Deonte Burton, TLC, Hamidou Diallo, these guys I mentioned, they're only averaging... I guess Diallo's leading with 6.3, but he has played the most minutes at 14. But Burton's only played 8 minutes per game. So these averages are kind of deceiving based off what they've actually been playing lately, and that's their numbers have increased in games of late. So
here's this is I think Royce Young pulled this stat out in one of his articles. Compared to last season, the Thunder are taking less of a hit across the board whenever he's off the court. Now, typically Schroeder is in or Paul George is in, other guys are in, so not necessarily full bench guys, but with him off the court last season, the Thunder as a team was -5 in net ranking for efficiency. We talked about that earlier, the Thunder being 4th overall this season so far. Right now, they are plus 2.9. That's an almost 8-point swing in efficiency with him off the court. That's solid. That's a major improvement, and to me, that's where I look at where the Thunder can rely on guys. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder is a reliable guy. He's not a fantastic shooter. He's actually shooting better from the field than Paul George is this season, and three-point. Can you believe that? Paul George is in what I feel like is a shooting slump for sure. He's just not shot well. Besides that, though, I scrolled down, and I feel like Hamidou Diallo, he's a rookie who's starting to figure some things out. Obviously got injured. Alex Abrinas, he's not impressed at all. And then he got sick, and it's kind of like, okay, man, let's get over this. Missed a few games there. Raymond Felton, when he plays, he gets buckets because he forces shots. He's not, listen, he has fallen off so much from a season ago on the court. I still think he's incredibly valuable in the locker room, on the bench. I think he brings that veteran presence that is great. The guy that I want to see more from, more playtime, more everything, is Nerlens Noel.
You're not getting a lot of minutes.
He's only averaging 13.5, and it's hard because those 13.5 come because Steven Adams is averaging 34.2. Right. You add those together, you're getting like 47.7 minutes, and there's only 48 minutes to go around.
And they can't be on the court at the same time.
It's just not going to happen.
So
it's one of those things where I get that.
I was going back and looking at his stats. He was like 2 for 2, or he's like 3 of 4. He's not getting a lot of shots, but he's making them when he's called upon. So
to me, I'm okay with that. he stays ready. You think of a guy like TLC, his minutes have shot up the last few games, and he's done some decent work with them. He's still got some things to work on, but the thing is, he's stayed ready. Deontay Burton is a two-way player. When he comes on, he is ready to go. The dude plays with so much energy.
I know.
And to see a guy
I've been
that...
so impressed.
The dude can jump, and he doesn't... I don't know. He looks like he's hiding tater tots in his pockets.
It's facts.
He's kind of a thick guy.
He had like 8 points, 11 points the other night.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was saying. You need guys like that who can, at any given moment, just have that kind of game.
And because we have guys who do that against us all the time.
Right. And
who is this guy? And they've got 15 points or whatever.
Exactly. And that's what the Thunder have lacked in recent years.
There's a healthy number of guys that can go around. The problem that I see in talking about this with another coach friend of mine is that the Thunder has a lot of guys that are kind of the same guy. You know what I mean? Like Terrence Ferguson, Hamidou Diallo, TLC. They're all kind of the same player. Is that a good or a bad thing?
I don't know, man.
It's a hard question. It's one of those things.
Is.
When one goes down, another one steps up, and you're not missing too much. At the same time,
It seems...
could we not trade one and bring somebody else in to offer something else? I don't know. I'm not
But
saying
we've
Presti.
talked about it. That's the kind of guys that Presti goes after. It's kind of what he's...
Oh, you're tall, athletic, fast, can jump.
But can't make shots.
Over here, we want you. I do think that all three of those guys are better shooters than their stats are showing right now, especially Terrence Ferguson. He's one of those guys that he had no confidence in his shot early. He's shot a lot better. He missed a couple games because he and his fiance, they had their baby. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he comes back and he sprains his ankle. So I'm hoping he'll be back soon because, if anything, he brings something on defense that I think a lot of people did not recognize until he was out. So
For sure.
So I don't know. I feel like the bench has made improvements over past seasons, and I'm excited about the direction we're headed.
Overall, like all these stats aside, I'm feeling confident and good about this team. They're fun to watch. I couldn't say that about last year's team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was kind of miserable. And my thing is, I feel like we've got a chance to win any game. Couldn't say that last season.
Right.
Early, I felt that way. About 5 games in, I was starting to scratch my head.
Yeah.
20 games in, we were 8-12 last season. We're about to play our 20th game against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday. And I'm going to predict a win on that one. That'll put us at 13-7. That's a much better scenario, much better ratio than last season. So that brings us to our weekly forecast. We got the Cavs on Wednesday at home and then the Hawks on Friday at home. Looking at this at face value, 2 worst teams in the Eastern Conference, I'll go ahead and take an undefeated week for sure.
Yeah, for sure. 2-0.
I do want to point out, I made this joke to you last night, but I still I feel like we need to keep it in mind. The Cavs, just a few days ago, only had 2 wins. Now they've got 4 wins. They won back-to-back games against the Houston Rockets, against the Philadelphia 76ers and then the Houston Rockets. That's something.
It is.
Okay?
Sure.
And I definitely feel like that's something that we need to be aware of.
Maybe they're not tanking anymore.
They're riding hot. I feel like Tristan Thompson said it best. The Cavs are still the team to beat in the East. So, did you hear Joel Embiid say that? Though?
Yeah.
He was
in the post.
He was which that's why I can't stand the guy. He's always got something to say. Whatever. The Cavs and the Hawks both, like I said, bottom 2 teams in the East. The Hawks are the worst at 3-16. They've lost 10 in a row at this point. I'm not even sure who they've got coming up before they travel to Oklahoma City on Friday.
Swear if Trae Young goes off.
The Cavs, though, they're on that 2-game win streak.
Do you think it'll be like... Go ahead.
The Cavs are on that 2-game win streak. They've won 3 of their last 7. Look out. But a couple important numbers here. They are 1-8 on the road, and they are 1-4 against the Western Conference. So I feel like that means something. The West is stacked, dude.
For real.
If we look at standings, you have to go all the way down to, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have to go down to the 12th team in the Western Conference. So only the bottom 4 teams have a losing record. The top 12 are at 500 or better. And what's ironic is of those, there are 3 teams that are at 500. Of those 3 teams, you've got the Pelicans and the Rockets. Okay? To me, the biggest shocker is by far the Kings. and probably the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are tied for first in the West right now at 12-6.
Especially after the season they had a year
I don't
ago.
understand what they've done over there. I don't know. I ain't worried about any of those teams. I'm not worried about, finding our place, finding our spot. The Thunder's at 12-7, which they're one back in the loss column from first place. So those things will start to shake out a little closer to the All-Star break, and we'll be able to see a little bit closer. But like I said, the Cavs, they're on a 2-game win streak. They play tomorrow night against, give me a second, I'll pull it up, against the Timberwolves at home, which the T-Wolves are struggle street right now.
We're talking about the Hawks, right?
No, the Cavs.
We're still talking about the Cavs.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have a game before they play us on Wednesday. The Thunder has a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days of full rest. I think it's good because we played 5 games in 8 days, 3 games in 4 days. Need a break.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that because I got a text about some like $200 hotels, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I get there's 3 of us, but I still.
You're talking about going to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not about that $200 hotel life, man.
Bar life. Let's find that $40 a night Econo Lodge.
Yeah, for real.
But looking at the Hawks, they have lost 10 in a row, and of those losses, there's some bad losses in there, man. The last time they won was against the Miami Heat on November 3rd. It's been almost a full month.
Do you expect cheers for Trae Young?
110% I do. I expect the same type of welcome for him that Buddy Hield got his first game back that he gets every single time.
I say give him a good welcome. After that, it's whatever.
Always.
Cheer for him when they do announce the lineup.
Because he's a starter, and he's put up some impressive stat lines a few games here and there. He's had an interesting season to start. I don't know if you've been tracking his stats, but he's had some really low lows. So
yeah, I just hope it's not like the Buddy Hield situation where everybody cheers and then it's like, oh my gosh, he's hit like 4 of those now.
Yeah,
like let's stop that.
What it comes down to is defensive pride, is what that is. But the Hawks' last win was against the Heat. Since then, they've lost to the Hornets, who the Thunder beat, the Knicks, who the Thunder smacked, the Pistons, the Lakers, the Warriors, who the Thunder smacked, the Nuggets. The Nuggets beat them by 45. We only lost by 8, was it? 5, was it? I can't even remember. It's been since last night. They lost to the Clippers, who the Thunder smacked, the Pacers, the Raptors, the Celtics. Before Friday, they have 3 games. Listen to this. Starting today, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. In 6 days, they will play 4 games. The Thunder is that 4th game. They're going to be tired because they play 3 games through Wednesday. 3 in the next 4 days, then a day off, and then the game against the Thunder. So, man, I ain't sweating these 2 games. I think the Thunder's going undefeated this week. That'll move them to 14-7.
Never sweating it to start, but we'll see what happens when.
Exactly. 14-7. That'll have us right up there somewhere. Looking good in the West.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Same.
So, I think that's all we've got for today. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for Thunder Things with the Thunder guys. You're going to see a lot more of our faces on Sunday afternoon, so just get used to that. If you are listening on Crossover Radio and it's Monday night, you're catching the show right before your Monday night, I guess. I was going to say before the Thunder tip off, but I forgot. We don't have a game
tomorrow. What?
I'm just so used to us playing on Monday nights. But that's going to be it. And, yeah, bro. Anything you want to add before we scoot on out?
No, man.
All right.
Thanks for getting weird.
Thanks for getting weird, yeah. Thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you next week.